Hyperdrive Hockey is brought to you by the Game Over Network. Make sure to follow us on YouTube at Game Over Network and catch Hyperdrive Hockey in audio format on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other good streaming platform. Hyperdrive Hockey, Max Vanout with you alongside Daphne Malbeuf. Daph, how are we doing on this beautiful Friday?
Doing good, Max. Doing good.
Yeah,
It's Friday for everyone.
It's Friday, a big week. A weird week of hockey with every team playing on Tuesday. There was only one game on Monday. I think there was only one or two games on Tuesday too.
Just
so it's been a
one.
weird week. Yeah, exactly. All of the games on Tuesday. And then a little bit less on the other days. We are, of course, still today with our amazing producer, Kevin Laramie. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I enjoyed the Frozen Frenzy on Tuesday. It's a whirlwind when all these games are happening in the same evening. You're looking left, right, all the monitors, the phone, social media. But yeah, it was very enjoyable.
I feel like this is a very good idea, not properly executed.
You know, if NHL had a show like NFL Red Zone, something like that, where a couple games could be played at the same time, throw highlights, oh, there was a big hit there, let's go there, because of whatever, then we can maybe get something better.
Yeah.
That does exist, by the way, but only from our friends down south on ESPN+.
I agree with this. And two, why a random Tuesday in October? I don't know. Like we were, all three of us were covering CF Montreal this week for their playoff game. The Saturday before that, it's decision day in MLS, and I think decision day in MLS is genius. It's completely amazing. Kevin and I worked the game for CF Montreal on that Saturday. It's so freaking cool. All the games in the East started at the same time. All the games in the West started at the same time. And while you're watching the game, you are covering the game that you prefer as a fan. You have to have an eye on what is going on elsewhere. You don't really feel the need to do that at the start of the season. Imagine if at some point late in the season, I don't know if it's late February, I don't know if it's in March, I don't think it could work like last day of the season. Maybe it could, but do something when it matters. Do something like this when it matters. And I totally agree with your take of a NFL Red Zone style show, Kev. They did it for the Olympics this year. It was amazing, completely amazing. And I think I'm 100% on aboard with this idea.
I'm with you guys. It's just like, we talked about maybe doing different rivalries every year, but why building the hype when the hype's already there? It's the beginning of the season.
Very good point.
And we could do after Christmas, January. A lot of teams are still in the mix for the playoffs, and you're building tension. I don't know, like I would have done this in January.
We have $1 million ideas. Dear NHL, send us $1 million. Thank you. A lot to cover today. Of course, we will talk about every Canadian team. For the first time, we will talk a bit about junior hockey today with the latest exceptional player off to a very good start in the WHL. But first, we have a Connor McDavid versus Sidney Crosby duel on Friday night in Edmonton. At a time where both teams are not enjoying a start to the season that they would like. And, of course, with the Four Nation face-off coming this season and the NHL releasing a first glimpse of the jerseys, there were some questions asked around this. Are you guys excited about the Four Nations face-off? Because my excitement for this thing couldn't be lower, to be honest with you. And every time that there are news coming regarding the Four Nations face-off, I feel like a lot of people are actually excited, and I'm starting to wonder, like, am I the Grinch here? Am I like the grumpy old man yelling at clouds for completely not caring about this?
Yeah, I'm with you on this, Max. I feel like it's the NHL media or relationship department who's trying to just like hype us all over this. They have released the jerseys this week, and I felt like you. I was just like, oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe because we haven't seen something internationally since they haven't made the Olympics since 2018. I don't know if it's just this and
14 was the last Olympics that they were in.
Sorry, what?
Sochi. Sochi in 14 was the last Olympics they were
Sorry.
in. Yeah. Oh, it's okay.
Sorry, but I don't know if it's when it's gonna start, we're gonna be in it. But for me right now, it's just like seeing it pass, and I feel like the Grinch, as you said.
Kev, are you excited for this tournament?
I'll be quite honest, no, because for now
Good.
it reminds me
Thank you.
of the World Cup of Hockey. You remember a few years ago we had that World Cup of Hockey with like the under-23 team of North America, European team.
Team
It
Europe.
made no sense. It made no sense. Why would you under-23 team? Oh yeah, good job, Team Canada. You beat the under-23 team. How can you identify? So that's what I mean. And you have 4 teams. Okay, congratulations to Sweden, Finland, USA, and Canada. One of you 4 will win. 25%. So, yeah, I don't think that's a really big achievement. And, okay, we might get good hockey. We won't get a Mario Lemieux dummy pass to Paul Carrier. We're not going to get a Lemieux to Gretzky 1987 goal. We might get a Crosby to McDavid, and oh, yay, good job. They beat Finland. It won't have the same intensity, I think.
And it's also the problem with this kind of competition. It's not the Olympics, right? So are the players are going to be, like all in? It's going to be February. Some of the players, will be wanting to preserve themselves for the playoffs. So are they going to be like in full intensity out there? I don't know. I wonder.
And another thing for me that like the little excitement that I could have for it is dragged down even more is the confirmation that the NHL players are going to the Olympic the year after. That I am looking forward. I am really looking forward to it. But, of course, the players from the other European countries are not happy with this. It's normal. Czechia's players, Slovakia's players, even now Germany has a right to be upset about this. No, I'm with you also, Kev. I was not really big on, I think it was 2016, the last World Cup of Hockey. I was not big on that. I do not mind trying to find another place in the Olympics to have a huge international hockey, beautiful tournament, best on best, just like soccer, just like basketball, even baseball nowadays with the classic has become very interesting, but they just haven't found the format for me yet, and this isn't it. What is it, though, is, of course, Connor McDavid giving Sidney Crosby his flowers, although I did think it was funny that there was a big thing about this on Thursday about the fact that Connor McDavid just shrugged it off, who should be Team Canada's captain, as saying, yeah, it's Sid, of course. Because, of course, as media people, as journalists, it's your job to ask the question, but is there really a single person doubting that Sidney Crosby will wear the C on his chest for both the four-nation face-off and if he's healthy, because I think this is the only way he's not there in the next Olympics, there is no way that anybody would even dare have a C on his jersey with Sidney Crosby there. The guys wouldn't even want it.
No questions asked. He's got to be the captain. Are you excited, though, to see Connor Bedard there?
I'm excited. And, this is the thing. So with 2014 being the last time that the best on best happened, because 2016, as Kev said, Austin Matthews, who had just been drafted, even Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, I think Jonathan Huberdeau, the amount of players that were on that U23 teams and not on Team USA or Canada, there is a full generation of hockey players who have not experienced best on best hockey in men's tournament. Their last experience of best on best hockey is World Juniors. So I'm excited to see Connor Bedard if he makes the team. I think he will. Well, at least the Olympics. I'm not sure if he will make Four Nations, but I'm convinced he makes the Olympics. I'm excited to see Connor McDavid. I'm excited to see Austin Matthews. I'm excited to see if Canada, really right now, I'm not as 100% convinced that Team Canada is the heavy favorite as it once used to be for many reasons. Number one, goaltending. I was watching the news this morning, Daph, and of course Sergei Bobrovsky. We will talk about him later on, but so Sergei Bobrovsky and the Panthers on Thursday night beat Igor Shesterkin and the New York Rangers. Can you believe freaking Russia will have Andrei Vasilevsky, Igor Shesterkin, and either Sorokin or Bobrovsky, and then they won't have Bobrovsky or Sorokin, and only one guy will be between the pipes, and we're here scratching our head for who will be Canada's goalie.
Can the Canadian national team right now just like can we give one of them Canadian passport right now?
Same thing for Team USA. Connor Hellebuck, Jeremy Swayman, Jake Ottinger. I mean,
yeah. This is the main question mark there.
Connor Hellebuck has been living in Winnipeg for a long, long time. If one of them can be a dual national, it's Connor Hellebuck. So in soccer, and I don't want to bring it to soccer, but we can cap somebody and they can have a one-time national change. How about Connor Hellebuck for Team Canada? Come on, let's make it happen.
Yes, and you know what? Jeremy Swayman's from Alaska, so I mean, I guess in a way, I'm just dropping. It's crazy. I can't wait to get there. Of course, I just talk about the Russian goalies. We don't exactly know what will happen with Russian Federation for the next Olympics. I'm guessing worst case scenario is they are there under the, what was it called, the Olympian Russian athletes that they've been naming them without a flag these past few years. But anyways, as of right now, I'm not sure if I was a bookie, I'm not sure if I'm favoring Team Canada for the next Olympics. Honestly, I'm
not
curious.
I'm not.
I think I might just on the strength and the depth of the roster, but Team USA is gonna be so good.
Yeah,
I don't like
crazy. Like you've said, comparing to 2014, you're excited to see. I'm excited to see Team USA because they've been developing well.
Oh, yeah. Team USA is going to be very, very good. Team Sweden is always good. We've talked about Team Germany. Like Switzerland, I felt like in the 2000s and early 2010s, Switzerland has always been that type of team that like comes and wrecks Savok and wins a big game and takes one of the powerhouse down. I think that Germany could be this team in the Olympics with, of course, Tim Stuchla and Leon Draisaitl. Moritz Seider, Team Germany doesn't have the depth, but it has firepower. It's going to be very interesting. No, I'm really, really excited for this tournament, and absolutely not for the Four Nations face-off that will occur instead of the All-Star game this year. There you go. We said it. Hope you enjoy it, hockey fans.
You've learned it here first. You hear it here first.
With all that being said, we were talking about this because McDavid and Crosby are playing each other on Friday night. Always interesting confrontations, of course. I think there's absolutely no doubt now that Connor McDavid is the best player in the world. For many people, he will not fully take over from Crosby as long as he has not won a Stanley Cup, which he came literally a game short of last season, but still hasn't done it. But big changes in Edmonton, Daph. The best power play unit in hockey has been dismantled. So what we have seen for the past 2-3 seasons, pretty much since Zach Hyman has joined the Oilers, has been Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Hyman. At first it was Tyson Barrie. He has been replaced by Evan Bouchard. And now Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent Hopkins have been demoted to the second power play unit that barely plays in Edmonton. Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson are going to be on the first unit. And probably Evan Bouchard is going to keep his spot, but according to journalists in Edmonton, both he and Hekholm have had their shot at running the power play during practice. I can't wait to see this. And you know what? The players sounded pissed off, but you have to shake things up at some point because it's not looking good.
Max, Tuesday, we were thinking about it, but frankly, we were trying to be patient, not panic, and it felt like it wasn't the time to change because we've been talking about this historic power play unit. Like it has been the best in the past 3 seasons. And now, despite the success, despite the historical success of this unit, they're ditching them. And I really liked Mark Spector from Sportsnet. He was really poetic about it. And he wrote a text that just like make me laugh. It was like, some breakups are inevitable, like Emily in Paris, old fling, or the high school love who went off to different university. Then there are more regretful ones, like the Beatles, or worse, the Titanic. So where does splitting up the best power play unit in hockey fit in a long list of broken hearts and busted dreams? Well, it's going to leave a mark. And I hope that this does leave a mark. I mean, like you said, you have to shake things up. And I mean, you got to respect what they did before, but they were not going on the power play. They were 1 for 15 on Tuesday, and now they're 2 for 19. I mean, you got to make something out of it. And Jeff Skinner is probably happy of this change.
Hey, you know, I mean, no disrespect to the Nuge. I mean, no disrespect to Zach Hyman and even Bouchard. But let's be real here. The Edmonton power play is Draisaitl and McDavid. And yes, you need key pieces to surround these guys, but these are the two captain of the ship. They're co-captains of the ship. And right now, the rest of them have not been bringing it. And even for McDavid and Draisaitl, I mean, Zach Hyman's their boy. Nugent Hopkins been there with them since before them, actually. He's been there longer. So they're probably disappointed for them. Maybe they feel like they've let them down. I don't know. But they are the one who needs to figure things out. And Zach Hyman is still a big 0.0 assist. So I understand why you gave this unit the benefit of the doubt. As we've said, they've been the best power play unit. It's a devastating machine. It's watching the Edmonton Oilers power play is absolutely beautiful. Unless you're from Calgary, I do not believe you if you say you do not enjoy watching this power play just as a hockey fan. Maybe Vancouver too, but the rest of you hockey fans out there, if you say you don't enjoy it, you're a liar. I've said it in the first few episodes of this podcast. I'm a defense first guy. I'm an ex-goalie. I'm a defenseman now. I enjoy defense, but watching this power play is absolutely beautiful. It's poetry in motion. But at a point, something's got to give. And congrats to Chris Knobloch for doing it. And I can't wait to see it. There's a part of me, the poor Pittsburgh Penguins to start the season, they can score a goal, but they give a lot of goal. And I'm kind of worried for them on Friday night. This might age very poorly, but I'm worried for Pittsburgh defense on Friday night.
Yeah, could be a massive rush out there. But I mean, do you like I mean, I gotta respect that they've made something about it right through. Like, we were wondering on Tuesday, and now they're like, okay, let's do it. I feel like more teams would benefit to, like, make quick changes or just like wrap things around, shake things around.
That's
and I'm
interesting.
thinking about a specific team.
Really? Which one? But here's the thing, though, is that Edmonton have options. I mean, Jeff Skinner is a really great option. Victor Arvidsson is a great option, too. So it helps when you have those options. When you don't have them, it's tougher. And again, I understand why it took time for Edmonton to get there, because at some point you do have to respect what has been done before. And it has not been done before for 40 games. It has been done before for seasons with an S. So I understand why it took time, but I'm glad they're trying it. Honestly, I'm going to watch this with a lot of interest on Friday night.
With the popcorn and everything.
You know what? I haven't ate popcorn in so long. I think I am eating popcorn tonight. Don't look at me like this. I don't have a microwave, and it's too long to make in a pan.
Oh, it's the best way to make it in the pan.
Yeah.
I don't have a
just lazy.
microwave too, and I think like without a microwave, I might have eaten more popcorn than when I
Okay.
had a microwave. Anyway,
You've-
I'm judging
You've
you.
convinced me. You've
I'm
convinced
judging
me. It's gonna be popcorn Friday here with a little beer, and yeah, it's done. Hey, you know what? We've talked about the Oilers. Let's talk about the other Canadians team. Let's go coast to coast, baby. And still undefeated. The heavyweight of the NHL right now are the Winnipeg Jets, baby. A comeback win to beat the Seattle Kraken 4-3 in overtime. 2 goals by Nino Niederreiter, and the Winnipeg Jets are still going. And I had kind of forgotten about this, but before the playoffs last year, the Winnipeg Jets had ended the season on fire. And so, in regular season, they are now up to 15 consecutive wins. This team is on a roll, and I have a big question for you, Daph.
Okay.
They are playing, by the time we get back for next episodes on Tuesday, Hyperdrive Hockey drops every Tuesday and Friday. Feel free to subscribe to Game Over Network on YouTube. We need your help. And also follow Game Over Network on all the platforms and Hyperdrive Hockey on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So by the time the next episode drops, the Winnipeg Jets will have played on Saturday the Calgary Flames and the Toronto Maple Leafs on Monday. So, when we talk again, will the Winnipeg Jets be 9-0 or will they have a first loss this season?
I think they're going 9-0.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm going to commit to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
You know
feel
what's
like
interesting?
they're what?
I'm gonna sound more worried about the Flames game. I think if they beat the Flames, they're gonna come in and pound the Leafs. We'll talk about the Leafs in a second, but
the Flames are gonna have the Jets number. You know, like they have been circling this game for a long time before the Jets were cooking. You know, and yeah, maybe you're right, but I feel like, you know what I like about the Jets? They're just looking at the way they played yesterday. And by the way, they've been trailing in 5 of their 7 games. And what I like
Yep.
about this team, it's a hard-working team.
there's a dog in it.
One way or another, they're finding ways to get the job done. And there's the teams that defends. Last season, there were, just a little stat, 10th in the league for expected goals against. This year, they are now in 5th position, the 5th position for this. And I like the way they defend. They get, you know, like they stick to the system. Even if they're down in the scoring, they know that they can battle back. And this is what I like. So I feel like this is what can help them in those 2 games. But yeah, the Flames are going to come hard.
The stat that you just said is scary, actually, for the opponents of the Winnipeg Jets, because you said last year, I don't know one. This is amazing. So last year they finished 10 in expected goals against.
Yeah, and now they're
Wow.
5th.
Wow, it's amazing because last year, of course, with the amazing play of Connor Hellebuck, they finished tied for first in the league for goal against, 198 goal against, tied with the Florida Panthers. So the Winnipeg Jets goalie split with Bobrovsky, the Jennings. If I remember correctly, Anthony Stolarz didn't have enough because you have to have the goalies of the team that finished with the least goal again can split it if you have a certain amount of game plays. But anyways, that's too geeky. I apologize for this. All this to say that they finished first last year,
Yeah.
with the 10th goal against expected against them. And now they've made... So basically, they're making life easier for Connor Hellebuck this year. That's all we're saying. Wow.
Yeah, and
That's beautiful.
they defend, they have a good goaltending, and when they're battling back in those games, they also know that they can get offense from everyone in the lineup, top to bottom. That's what's been helping them. But
Amazing.
yeah, they're fighting. 5 of their 7 games they were trailing in the score, and they find a way to win. And this was their third overtime win. So
No, they're grinding. They're grinding so far this season, and I love it out of them. You know what? While we're talking about Flames and Leafs, let's talk about them right away. So the Calgary Flames suffered their first regulation loss of the season on Thursday. They fell 4-2 to the Carolina Hurricanes. What I do think is interesting is this quote. Sorry, from Craig Conroy. That was in The Athletic. He said, "If you have a culture where it's just okay with losing, that doesn't breed winning. I know we're going to lose games, but the attitude has to always be, we're here to win. This is our job." Craig Conroy, of course, has been a bit on the spot, if I may talk like this, because he's not going full on rebuild route with the Flames. I mean, it's tough for the Flames right now to go full rebuild. We talked about it with those contracts, but I love hearing this. I love hearing this, and it's something that I do think that we see out of the Flames this year. I do not think that they're the most talented team in the league. I did say that I did not believe as much in them as I do, for example, the Minnesota Wild, who also have an amazing start to the season, but they do battle very well so far this season. I can't wait to see now. Like I said, they just lost to the Hurricanes. They're going to play the Jets. So was it a Cinderella story to start the season? Or is this something that they can go and do all season long?
And I also like the way that the players responded after the game. Like they could have, you know, had the attitude about like, oh, okay, it's the first loss in regulation time. Like, give us a break. It's the start of the season, blah blah. But no, they were resilient, and they were like, no, we've, you know, like we were finally burned after playing with fire, and they felt and look at it this way, from what Conroy said, they fell behind 3-0 in the first 22 minutes of the game, I think, and they could not climb all the way back, but they did try.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, first loss in regulation, but that doesn't mean that they didn't battle back, and that's what's maybe convincing me that this wasn't just a Cinderella story.
And of course, right after we applauded, lauded, threw flowers at the Toronto Maple Leafs, they went on and lost to the Blue Jackets on Frozen Frenzy, and they took a hard one to the Jackets. And another one against Craig Berube's old team, the St. Louis Blues. So 0-2 since then. I'm not going to go super hard on the Leafs. I mean, I have been really impressed with them to start this season, but I did not like the way they played in those two games. I think it's Berube himself who said that he thought he didn't really like the way the team played. He didn't see the same toughness out of the team in those losses. That looked more like the old Leafs than the supposed new Leafs. I am not worried about this team whatsoever, but you can see that this whole new identity that the head coach is trying to bring is a work in progress.
Yeah, and they did not apply this on those two awful losses, Max.
Oh, no.
And what a difference can few days make? I mean, we were praising them in all aspects of their game. And yeah, as you said, it's a work in progress. What would just pop out to me in last night's game against the Blues was the third goal. That was 3-1 for the Blues. And it was exactly what you said. They didn't play Craig Berube's system. And on this play specifically, they're losing the puck in the corner. And right off, they're just like, oh, losing the puck. And the Blues are taking it in. And so not being able to battle enough against, and it was two Leafs player against one player from the Blues. So Berube is asking this. You need to apply it every single game, and they didn't do it in the last two games. But you know, they've been outscored also 11-3, and their power play is also not doing well. They were 7th the last season and now they're 3-27.
That's no good.
That's no good. And I feel like, do you feel like they've been too much predictable?
Well, that is a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think that they're trying to find their groove under that new way to play. I think they're trying to remain consistent with what they have been and what they have been doing right. For example, offense, all the while applying all those new things that Craig Berube is bringing. But I have a question for Leafs fans, and I'm throwing it out there. I'm not expecting us to answer it, but you can answer if you want that. But please let us know in the comments, Leafs fans. At what moment exactly do we start talking about Auston Matthews having kind of not the best start of his season as the new captain of the team? Because he has, so far? 3 goals in 8 games. I mean, he had 2 hat tricks to start the season last year. So, like, we're going to give the guy a break. But only 5 points in 8 games. I have said it before. I'm not the biggest guy on plus minus, but he is a -3. So, yeah, like all those star players, established star players, Hart Trophy winner like Auston Matthews. I'm giving those guys a break in October, but I'm asking the question: when are we allowed to start talking about it as a tough start for Auston Matthews?
I'm glad that you're bringing it up, Max, because I'm all about accountability, and especially for the Leafs, and especially for star players. Nylander
With a C now.
Yeah, Nylander had a really great start of the season, and now you need to step up. Like, the other one needs to step up. Auston Matthews, and now that you're the leader of this team, is also more important. The accountability is more important for you now, Austin. Sending you this message.
Completely agreed. Agreed.
If I may add in a point too, has anyone seen John Tavares lately? Because his face is missing too. He's on the side of a carton of milk somewhere because John Tavares, not only did he lose his C, he lost his presence on the ice this season. I'm still looking for him, and I've been watching a few games for the Leafs. He's anonymous in 2024-25.
I know where you can find JT, Kev. In his house, because he's rewiring everything because all of his internet needs to be plugged in.
There you go.
Oh, wow! But
I'm sorry. It was right there. It was. I was Auston Matthews waiting, and Kev put it right on my tape, and I just one-timed it in.
but you're right, Kev. You're right. And are we surprised? I mean,
I am a bit, to be honest.
I don't know. Last year of
C,
your contract, you're losing the C.
Yeah.
You're detached. No?
But here's the thing. Losing is the captaincy is more and more common. The San Jose Sharks did it from Marleau to Thornton, and from Thornton to Pavelski. All the while, all the 3 were still there.
Yeah, and he had agreed to it.
Yeah, Anze Kopitar took it over from Dustin Brown, 2-time Cup champion as a captain, Dustin Brown. And not only, as you said, he agreed to it, but apparently he opened the discussion about it. So for me, in a way, I kind of almost expected it to, sometimes you get to a point in your career when, with those responsibility off, maybe he could have focused a little more on just doing his thing on. I don't know. Maybe we're reading too much into it too. That is really possible. But yeah, I did not expect that to have an impact on him properly.
Yeah. I mean, no, I had. But
it's totally possible. It is. Because maybe also it's all PR, and maybe he didn't come up with the idea. They just saved face. They say, hey, look, we're going to say it was your idea, and you're going to look good, and rah, rah, rah. Like, we know all these things can work.
Maybe.
So maybe he's pissed about it, and maybe he's searching for some Wi-Fi. From one point of Ontario, let's go to another, where at the moment we are recording this episode, we do not know yet if Linus Ullmark is finally going to be back for the Ottawa Senators, because Linus Ullmark is still day-to-day. The thing is, he has been day to day for 11 days and counting now. So on Friday night, the Ottawa Senators are playing the Vegas Golden Knights. So it's in Vegas, but surprisingly, the game is early. I do not know if there is some sort of local payoff in Vegas, but the game is at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Wow. Okay, so we might know while we are recording, but at the moment we are speaking, we do not know if Linus Ullmark is finally going to be available. And I can hear all the way from Ottawa, from across the river, the Sens fans screaming, "Oh no, not again!" We finally had a goalie. Daph, you had a very interesting stats a few episodes ago about the amount of goalies that played for Ottawa since Craig Anderson. The good news is Anton Forsberg, apart from that first game he played in against the Kings, where he was taken off after giving 3 goals on 9 shot, he has looked good very good even, in 2 of the 3 games. The Tampa one was a bit more rockier, but you know what? You're playing Tampa. Technically, you're supposed to have a more of a rocky start, but he shut out the Utah Hockey Club. So that is the good news for the Sens. The bad news, though, is let's hope, because Carey Price, people might remember Carey Price the second time he had an injury. I have 2018 in my head, but not the 2016 one, a later one, where all year he was wearing the tracksuit on the ice. Yeah, he's getting near. He didn't play the season. Now we have Thatcher Demko, who technically it was a little something. It's still going months later. Hopefully the Sens are not in something similar with Linus Ullmark.
Yeah, and you've said it, Max. Like the reassuring thing is that Forsberg is having a good start, but I don't like when it's being handled this way. I mean, Carey Price year that we were supposed to see him and we never saw him the whole year. It was like the Carey Price watch every day. You don't want that.
Yeah, it was.
From a calm strategy point, you don't want that. I mean, and like the Sens fan are hyped, so you got to give them some answers there.
Yeah.
But if Ullmark, like has a green flag to go, would you rather, like, as Forsberg is good now, would you rather wait to put him back in the lineup? Because we saw it with Joseph Woll. I don't think he was ready to play this game yesterday.
That is such a good question. Part of me want to say, hey, if the doctor tells him he's good to go, he's good to go. Part of me also want to say, it's the start of the season. They didn't pay that steep of a price to acquire him, but they did just pay him the big buck. The start of the season for the Sens is far from catastrophic. In fact, in my humble opinion, it's very good. So, you know what? That is something quite interesting you're bringing up.
There's no fire there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm so on the fence about this. You know what? It's not that bad of an idea to let him rest a bit.
Yeah, I would.
Because those goalie lower bodies injuries are so tricky.
Yeah. Yeah,
Especially
and you don't want him like going further in the season having to be injured.
No,
so.
Exactly. Now that is an very interesting point that you are bringing. We will watch. We will be for the rest of the show on Linus Ullmark watch. Why does it feel like shit's about to hit the fan in Montreal?
Oh, we have been under emergency alert here.
It feels like shit's about to hit the fan. It's crazy. So for those who don't know, Martin St. Louis is more and more on some sort of a hot seat, at least from the media. I don't think he is from the team. There is absolutely no defensive progress so far this season. That to me is the worrisome thing about the Habs.
Yeah.
And, they are still in a very tough place. We did not expect them to be the Rangers, to be fair. With that being said, they got smoked by the Rangers. One of the things I really did not like was that, I think it was the second goal, that play where Logan Mailloux and Jaden Strobel get beaten for an icing call. both kind of look at each other, no pressure. Everybody's kind of confused, and boom, the puck is in the lower slot, and it's an easy goal on a play that really shouldn't have happened there. And I did not like this from two young players who should technically be hungry. I don't feel the hunger. I feel the kind of discomfort slash panic. Like already, again, injuries to key player. It started with Patrick Laine and Kaden Guhle, Uri Slavkovsky. It really feels like this could derail really quickly, and all the progress that seemed to have been made last year could seem to stagnate. And of course, what will happen if it comes to this? We will start talking about the Buffalo Sabres. We will start talking about the Ottawa Senators, the Arizona, now Utah Hockey Club, but the Arizona Coyotes. Those teams that were in rebuild for far too long and never took step forward.
Max, we talked about accountability. It's when you said about the play with Mayu and Trouble, like you don't want that. You want them to be accountable, and this is the year for them. We've been talking about the Senators' turning point in their construction. It's this year for the Montreal Canadiens also. And what I don't like, and I feel like I've been talking about this over and over, they keep making the same mistakes. And defensively, I don't feel like the man-to-man that they're playing is working. They're not like, I don't know how many times they're going for the guy and there's no one in front of the net. That is not working. So you need, and I feel that when I say about you, it's the coaching staff. You need to find a way to make this work. Is it changing the way, like, are we stubborn about this? Maybe.
You need toughness. You need toughness.
You need toughness. And this is what we saw against the Rangers, that we are not tough enough. And what I don't like also is are we too young? I've heard Pierre Lebrun talking about the new way of reconstruction now is a bit of hybrid mode. Keeping some veterans, having some young players, but not just like scratching out everything and adding just like new players. This is not what the NHL's strategy, like for the team. This is not a strategy anymore. And I found that interesting because when we let go of Monahan and everything, my question was, okay, but we don't have, for me, enough veterans in this team. And I feel it's starting to show. Mayu and Trouble looking at each other, not just like not having a clue, being a little soft about it. You need to have more veteran leaders that make those guys being accountable for their mistakes.
That is well said. That is a very good question. That defense has had mostly young players for this is the third year in a row now. You have Savard and Madison acting like big brothers, and then a bunch of kids. They need toughness. To me, this all comes down to toughness. And when I say toughness, I'm not necessarily meaning Arbor Jakai coming into the lineup and putting some knuckles in some faces. I'm talking about toughness in front of the net. I'm talking about the willingness to shove a guy aside to make the game easier for your goalie and etc. You're not seeing this from that defense at all.
And I heard a very interesting point that André Tourigny said this week at the 98.5 radio. He was talking about because they lost, Sean Durzi and John Marino, big defensemen, and I really liked what he said about, we cannot count on injured players. So what we need to do is regroup and focus on what we have, the elements that we have in our lineup. In our lineup to just like step ahead and take what's been left with those injuries and just being, better at it. We just need to focus on what we have, and we just need to make better with less, more with less.
No, you know what? It's funny that you say this because my take on the Utah Hockey Club right now is that this team is starting to look like a team with an identity, which is really ironic considering that from a branding standpoint, they literally don't have an identity. But on the ice, as a generic hockey team, they have an identity, I feel like. And I think that this is important for this team. And I feel like the Habs are still looking for that identity. Let's go back west to finish our roundup of Canadian hockey with the Vancouver Canucks, who now have 3 wins in a row, dominated both Flyers and Hawks, as they should. A team like the Vancouver Canucks should dominate both the Flyers and the Blackhawks. But it's really good that they did. They beat the Blackhawks with an amazing display of talent and skills, amazing plays in that win. What I liked is that the lead that they had allowed them to rest a bit Quinn Hughes, who was the 4th most used defenseman in that game. We talked about it last week or maybe earlier this week about how Hughes has been playing huge minutes for the Canucks in the first few games of the season. He played under 20 for the first time against the Blackhawks. And yeah, I'm looking at a team that I think could be fine, honestly. There's a bit of fine-tuning here and there, but this is a good looking Canucks team that, I don't know how to say this, but they're winning their game, and I'm looking at a team that I don't feel is at really near close to mid-season form. So that's a good thing for the Canucks.
Yeah, and imagine when Elias Pettersson is gonna find his way back.
I hope.
Because I expect him to do so, and we've talked about it on the Tuesday episode. But you know, I like about how they react also to this. I don't know if you saw, but like in the practice Wednesday, and there were like a little battle drill between GT Miller and Peterson, and you know, like the temperature rose briefly. They had a heated exchange, and maybe like we've talked about accountability. Just like making sure that he stays on the edge, and you're like, okay, buddy, you need to just like step up here.
Yeah.
Not making like I don't like him to be pressured, or I don't feel like the pressure is not gonna help him find his way back. But just like having a winning culture, and just saying like this is not enough, and you need to let's step up your game, buddy.
Oh, he needs to. He absolutely needs to. Let's stay out west for a last quick word on Landon Dupont, the latest exceptional player in the CHL. And look at this stats. First 11 games for CHL players with the exceptional status. Shane Wright in 11 games and 9 points in the OHL. Connor McDavid had 13 in the OHL too. Michael Misa had 15 points in 11 games. Connor Bedard had 20. Landon Dupont is right behind Connor Bedard and tied with John Tavares at 16 points. May I remind you that he's a defenseman? That is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Do you feel I mean, the latest hockey players that we saw emerging, like Connor Bedard and him, it's just like, ooh, we're getting to a step where it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean,
I would be so curious to see like some form of study regarding. I feel like, how do I I kind of feel like there is the offensive defenseman is doing a comeback right now. They were really all the craze in the 80s, early 90s, and there were some very amazing offensive defensemen in the 2000s. But like such pure offensive gems, like in the 2010s, there was Carlson, there was Brent Burns, there is Roman Yossi, because even PK, like it was not those type of stats on defense like we're seeing right now. So is it a symptoms of the fact that there are more goals in hockey now, like, is it the egg or the chicken, actually, is the question I'm asking. Is there more goals because defensemen nowadays want to be more exciting, want to play offense? It leads to worse defense. It leads to more goals. Or is there more goals now because there are more and more blue liner being so amazing at launching the play from the back end? I don't know. I would be curious to see a study about this. But yeah, clearly Landon Dupont is well on his way to being to filling the exceptional status he has been given. He is playing for the Everett Silvertips. So I'm going to be looking at this guy very, very carefully the next few years.
And it's interesting what you're saying, Max. Is it also, it makes me wondering, is it because we have more and more model to go around, like a Quinn Hughes or Kel McCarr, or we've seen, like, yeah, I feel we have more and more models of those defensemen. Maybe it's kind of one element of the response here.
If I may add a point too quickly, sorry for interjecting. There's less and less Jacques Lemaire in this world, less and less trap being played, and the advance of analytics and how that has changed how hockey has been played too, because the amount of time a defenseman now is going to pass the blue line, going close to the net, and if you look at the data and the data points and the amount of time it happens leads to more goals. So they have the green light from the coach. They're not being yelled at because they crossed the red line. Like back in the day, if you were playing for Jacques Lemaire and you crossed the blue line, well, you would do 25 push-ups during intermission. So there's a lot of things that have changed, and I think it's all those things we've just talked about added together that we're seeing the proliferation of offensive defensemen.
But that is so interesting what you just said, Kev, because when I think of the NBA right now, I'm thinking of a high-octane league, a high-octane offensive league. When I think of the NFL right now, I'm thinking of all those young coaches, all those teams who are trying so hard to get their Sean McVay, to get their Kyle Shanahan. The coaches are younger. The coaches are more offensively minded. A lot of people will say, yeah, but that doesn't win you game in the playoffs. And up to this point, well, only Sean McVay has won the Super Bowl as this type of offensive-minded coach. The meme on social media is that we're finally in the generation of head coaches who have played Madden, and they're out there playing Madden in real life, like going on it on fourth down all the time and all this stuff. And it's very interesting because, we are in an era where leagues try to reinvent themselves. League try to stay relevant. Leagues try to have clips on social media. And I think that there is a push for more offensive-minded hockey.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very interesting. Very interesting to think. Okay, let's go back quickly across the borders because there are so many interesting stories across hockey right now. Sergei Bobrovsky now has 400 career wins. Kevin and I were talking about this off air before we started to record the pod, but I think it's a bit funny because all the titles say he's the fastest ever to do it, which is technically true because in terms of game played, he is the fastest. He's done it in 707 games. But as we were saying on a previous episode, but in terms of age, he is 36-year-old. He's not going to play nearly enough game to reach Martin Brodeur. I just think that type of title is a bit funny because when you read this, you're like, oh, is he ever going to beat the record? No, he's not even going to come close to beating the record. But congrats to the Bob.
How rejuvenated has Bobrovsky been with the Florida Panthers? I mean,
it's beautiful.
We thought it was the end of the Bobrovsky. And look at how it's the Fontaine de Jouvence for him.
I'm so happy for the guy for many reasons. Number one, he seems like a very legit guy. He has often had charity and important messages on his mask throughout the years. And yes, after going to Columbus in 2019, taking on that big money, there was a time when we were like, oh my God, Bobrovsky and Price are going to cost big money to goalies because unfortunately for Price, injury-wise, he took a drop after starting to play on that $10.5 million contract, and performance-wise, Bobrovsky was not delivering the goods for the Florida Panthers. And as you said, now he has found the fountain of youth. He is completely amazing. It started in the Stanley Cup playoff in 2023. Vezina nominated last year. I think Sergei Bobrovsky has definitely certified himself as a Hall of Famer in these past few years, without a doubt. I think there is even now an argument that can be said. I'm not saying it my opinion. I'm saying there's an argument to be said that he is the best goalie of his generation with all the accolades. Um, I'm just happy for him that it has happened, because it kind of would have sucked if it just had been it for him, taking that money and having the reputation of a guy who took the money, went on the beautiful beaches of South Florida, and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely. We want robbery Bobrovsky.
Shea Theodore signs a 7-year, $51.975 million contract with the Vegas Golden Knights. So if you're at home counting, that's a bit over 7 million, 7.425. I think this is a very legit contract for the Golden Knights. I'm a big Shea Theodore fan. The only problem with Shea Theodore has always been the health. He has a tough time playing a full season. He's again having an amazing start to the season, but playing a full season for Shea Theodore, who is now 29 years old, he is close to 30, has always been a problem. I hope he can figure this out the next few years.
Yeah, but still legit. Like, he has 7 points, 1 goal in 6 games. People, I don't know if you've read the comments, Max, but people were like, "Oh, we're paying for the services of a guy that you shouldn't have paid this much at
That's
this point of his
interesting.
career." I'm like, he's 29 years old.
I don't think I would agree with this. I personally, I'm of the opinion that this is one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL. A
Yeah.
big body, a puck mover, a capable player at both sides of the ice. Okay, I can understand the skepticism. I will give the people that are skeptics, I will give them I will say that I can understand why they are thinking that way.
Because
But
of
no,
the 7
I do not
years.
agree. Because you never know. Look at here in Montreal, we had Andrei Markov. So Andrei Markov, entering his early 30s, missed almost 2 full seasons. And you're like, all right, this is it. And actually ruptured. So you felt like that was it for Andrei Markov. And then he comes back, and at that time, as I said, the general consensus was, yeah, that's it for the guy, which is kind of ironic, because I just said I consider Shea Theodore one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL. I would argue the same thing for Andrei Markov back in his days. But yeah, so after playing 45 games in 2009-2010, after playing 7 games in 2010-2011, and 13 in 2011-2012, make the counts. That's not even close to 82 games in a span of 3 seasons. Andrei Markov played the whole year, the shortened season, played 81 games in 13-14, 81 games in 14-15, 82 games in 15-16, and those were not just games where he had to become a shell of himself. No, he was still good old Andrei Markov with a game that had shifted. He had the brains for it. His game had shifted, but he was still as efficient. He was still very good. And so in his 30s, despite injuries in the late 20s, he was able to bounce back. And so I don't think Shea Theodore, Shea Theodore is not Kel McCarr. His game is not based so much on speed. So I do think I'm not of that opinion. I understand it, but I'm not of the opinion that is a contract for services given to the team.
That is a really good comparison.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I did not fill it in the notes, but Daph, I wanted to tell you something. I think you and Kev need to take my temperature.
Ooh, about what?
I might be, I don't know, dying or sick or something, because Brad Marchand said something this week that I fully 100% agree with.
Ooh.
So you might have seen the scene. That is beautiful. Where Jim Montgomery came at Marchand on the bench and was right into him, and
Furious.
And Marchand said, coaches are getting way too much crap for these days. There is no accountability. We're in the NHL. There's absolutely nothing wrong with what he did. And I was like, oh my God, I fully agree with Brad Marchand. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe I agree with the guy so clearly on the take. I'm not one who is of the opinion that people are too soft these days and we can't say anything and blah, blah, blah. But I do agree that there should not be a problem with this. If it's something that reoccurs, if it's something that, the message isn't flowing with the players anymore, you can, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with a coach losing its temper from time to time. I mean, it's still the biggest league in the world, the best league in the world. You're out there to win. The Boston Bruins are a very good team that has very high ambition. He's the captain. Like, I was glad he came out and said this. I was really glad he kind of defended his coach on this.
Yeah, and it's the way that it's being made. This is no Daryl Sutter or Mike Babcock, From time to time, we've been talking the whole episode about accountability. So if you want your team or your players to be accountable, time to time you need to shake them up.
I think there's also a difference between when it's play related and he's talking about the play. He's not telling the person like personal attacks like we've seen
like Babcock
do. Exactly.
A very good point.
So he's like, this is actually like related to the play, and of course Jim Montgomery, Montrealer from born. So from birth, we are seeing here like there's controversy, but there's not at the same time because it's play related. He's telling you effed up, you did something and didn't like on the ice, whatever. He didn't say, or he didn't put him in a position to humiliate him personally. He's just trying to wake him up professionally, and I think there's a difference.
Absolutely.
So thoughtful, so well said. You are so smart. Am I old school? Are we old school for agreeing with my? Let us know in the comments. Are we just a bunch of old schooler ranting? Let us know. All right, that will be it for our little tour across the NHL. Before we let you, let's slide in the DMs this week. As always, feel free to send us an email at hyperdrivehockey.com. We take the emails and we answer them in the episode of Friday, in the Friday episode. This week, we have our very first audio message, and it comes from one of our own, Mr. Andrew Berkshire of Game Over Montreal. Mr. Andrew Berkshire, who is the brain behind Game Over, actually, so I guess technically he is our boss. But it was regarding the discussion, a bit of the random discussion we had about Mount Rushmore of hockey. And I said a comment. I said, I'm going to let goalies out of it because I think the position is separate enough to have one of its own, a Mount Rushmore of its own. And here's Andrew Berkshire on Mount Rushmore of goaltenders.
Bonjour to Max, Daff, and Kev. You talked on the last episode of Hyperdrive Hockey about your all-time hockey Mount Rushmore and whether or not Sidney Crosby was on it. Love that conversation, but I want to dig in further on that because whenever we're talking about Mount Rushmore, it's always full of forwards and maybe somebody will throw in Bobby Orr or someone will throw in one goalie here or there depending on their personal preference. But who's your goalie Mount Rushmore? I know Max for sure definitely wants to talk about this, so I can't wait to see the answer.
I'm gonna tell a thing. I'm gonna tell something to Andrew. He's a little bit wrong here at the end.
Why is that?
I hate doing the Mount Rushmore of goalie, and I'm gonna tell you why. Number one is because I feel like a hypocrite. Because I often say that for those type of exercises, like for instance, when we're talking quarterback in the NFL, I'm like, a lot of people, because the game has evolved so much toward passing, are going to be like 7 quarterback of the 2000s are top 10 all time. And I'm like, how is that even possible? They all like to do this type of exercise. You have to take into consideration how much better they were than their peers. Yeah, maybe there were a lot of great goalies at the same time, but you have to take into consideration how much better they were than their peers, their contemporaries. And I feel like a complete hypocrite because I have 3 contemporaries on my Mount Rushmore of hockey.
Oh no! But who are they? We want to know, Max.
How can you be a 90s kid and not have the Dominator, Dominique Hachek, Patrick Roy, and Martin Brodeur on the Mount Rushmore of goalies? How can you? Like,
You can't.
2 of them are
you
the...
can't. It's a given.
Like, Dominique Hachek has 6 Vézinas trophy. He has 2 Hart trophies. Patrick Roy, to me, is the clutchest player, not goalie, the clutchest player in NHL history. Some will say that Martin Brodeur is overrated because of, Kev talked about Jacques Lemaire. He played for Jacques Lemaire in a very, very
defensive era.
Yeah, a defensive era and a system that made it look good on the goalies. But I would argue that playing behind those type of defenses that were hermetic and didn't give a lot of shots, it's almost tougher to have great stats, because if you get less shots, you don't even have a little margin of error to have great stats. But I have the three of them, and honestly, I never know what to do with the fourth one. I never know what to do with the fourth one. And Kev, I don't know, because you clearly agree. You said you can't, because I'm always on the fence. I'm like, since I have the three guys from the 90s, I might as well just do a Mount Rushmore of what I have seen.
And Carey
Because
Price.
the game has evolved.
And then you had Carey Price number 4.
I love Carey. He's my second all-time favorite. He's not. He would not be, and Fleury would not be either.
I was surprised. That was what I was about to say. Like, Fleury is not even your fourth one?
No, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fleury is my favorite, but I am rational regarding Marc-André Fleury. He is not in my top 3 goalies of this generation. He's my favorite, but I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's part of the 3 best. So yeah, I don't think he's on the Mount Rushmore. Do I put an old schooler? Do I put the Jacques Plante by respect for what he did?
Ken Dryden?
I would not have Ken Dryden. He played on way too good teams. I would be so curious to see the data regarding Ken Dryden if he had played in such an era. But so you know what? I'm gonna do one with all modern goalies. I'm gonna say respect to the old school, to the OGs. I think they deserve their own Mount Rushmore. I think it's a position where the game changed so much. I think there should be a pre-butterfly and a post-butterfly.
I agree. So
Mount Rushmore of goalies.
Pre-Patrick Roy and then 86 and on.
Exactly. Completely agree on this. I think I'm going to surprise you all with the fourth one, because he doesn't even have a Vizina.
Lou?
It's Bobby Lou.
Robbie Lou?
Bobby Lou was
okay.
like the second best goalie in the league for like 20 years. I think he was robbed 1 year. With all due respect to Martin Brodeur, I want to say the last pre-lockout year or the first post-lockout year. I'm not sure. Either way, one of his last season in his first stint in Florida, he was robbed. He really deserved the Vizina that year and didn't get it. But, he was so good for so long. And what I love about Roberto Luongo is he was amazing on some terrible Florida Panthers team before joining the Canucks. He was amazing in a very tough market. In Vancouver for a very long time. He was Vizina nominated 1, 2, 3, 4 times. He was top 5 another time. So I'm going with Bobby Lou because I think this guy did it all. I think to me, he beats both Lundqvist and Price on longevity. If you ask me who of the bunch was the best at his prime, it's Carey Price, but unfortunately injuries cut that short.
I'll put Bobby Lou in front of Lundqvist.
Yeah, but even that, I could counter argument myself right here. Lundqvist was so good for so long. But it's a tough one.
He had better things in front of him, no?
Lundqvist? Well, that's a tough one. Bobby Lou, if Bobby Lou never goes to Vancouver, we're talking about him in the same way we're talking about Carey Price in the sense that he carried a franchise on his own for a long time. Because after he left, the Panthers were still no good. But in Vancouver, he had some teams. And it sucks that he didn't win the Stanley Cup with the Canucks in 2011. But those Canucks teams were stacked early 2010s. Those were some very good teams. I would agree that Lundqvist had better teams for a longer time.
Yeah,
that I would agree.
Yeah.
That I would agree. Who would you add on your Mount Rushmore, Kev?
Well, I think Bobby Lou is a good one, because we also have to think about personality wise, right? He's a great personality. He seems like he's a really good guy. Who else shows up at a beer league because they received the message that they were missing a goalie, and he shows up and plays with a team? Nobody does that. He did it. Just being retired. He's like, hey, I'm retired. I got nothing to do. Let's dust off the old equipment. Let's go to the local arena and let's show these boys how it's done. It's a great story, of course, but it's also an indication of the character of that
Yeah.
person. And I think that if we're looking at basically the four names we've talked about for the Mount Rushmore, they're all good personalities. They're all very eccentric, but also there's moments, maybe outside Patrick Roy, we don't know as much, but there's moments where they've done great things for the community and all. So I think that's important to me, as I like human beings when they're good athletes. I like when they're good human beings. So I think that counts.
If it was Mount Rushmore of personality, Bobby Lou is alone on his mountain. I love the guy of the ice
Yeah.
so damn much. Oh, so
Yeah,
damn much.
he's so cool.
Do you guys remember that front page of I don't know what magazine of Kim Kardashian? I think she was fully frontal naked, and Bobby Lou did a parody of that. Probably asked somebody, "Hey, Photoshop me on it," and published it. Posted it. That was like amazing. And nowadays he's posting pictures of him with his kids at Taylor Swift concert, and I love the guy. I really love the guy. So you know what, Kev, you've convinced me. Because of the personality, I'm even more convinced that Bobby Lou is on my Mount Rushmore of goalies. Do you agree with our take that we should split a Mount Rushmore of goalie, pre-butterfly era and post-butterfly era? Do you think it's a mistake? Do you think it's a disrespect? As always, let us know in the comments. We were really happy to be with you again today. Make sure, one more time, to subscribe to the Game Over Network channel on YouTube. It really helps us. Follow the Hyperdrive Hockey pages on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and please leave a review. That is really cool too, and that helps the algorithms and the GAFA and all of that of this world to spread the word. So we really appreciate it. My name is Max Vanu. Daph, have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend too, Max.
And Mr. Kevin Laramie, as always, have a good weekend too. Are you completely off soccer now that Montreal is eliminated, or do you cover the playoffs?
No, I'm off for soccer for a little while. So hockey, university football, and a bit more is on my plate for the next few months.
Ah, that is beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend. Listen to some good hockey, and talk to you in the next episode of Hyperdrive Hockey. Bye.